Here are some problems on factoring trig expressions to simplify. The first example is cosine squared of theta minus sine squared of theta. Think of this problem as the difference of two squareds. How did you factor the difference of two squareds? You would have two parentheses, x minus y, and then x plus y. Well, instead we have trig functions here. So it'll be the cosine of theta minus the sine of theta, and then the cosine of theta minus the sine of theta. The next example of factoring is tangent squared of theta minus sine of theta plus 2. If I just change this to a quadratic equation to review with you factoring, we have x squared minus 3x plus 2. I teach the method of what we call the chart method, or T-chart, where you say what are the factors of c, which is 2, that add to the term b, which is negative 3, and you make your different choices. Well, 2 times 1 is 2. When you add 2 and 1, you get 3. Well, that doesn't work. Then, negative 2 times negative 1 adds to negative 3. This is the one we want. So how we factor this then is split up your x squared term as x and x, and then you put minus 2 and minus 1. Well, we have the same thing here, but just with a trig function. So my x in this case would be the tangent of theta. So split up your tangent squared of theta as tangent of theta and tangent of theta. Then I have minus 2 and minus 1. If you wanted to check your work, you could FOIL this back out to get your original expression. Moving on to more simplifying and how factoring can reduce a rational expression. In the numerator, we have 2 minus cosine squared of theta. If we factor that, we would take out the GCF of 2. So what we're left with is 1 minus cosine squared of theta. Then I can continue factoring this with like the difference of two squareds. I have 1 minus the cosine of theta. Let's get a little scrunch there. One minus the cosine of theta, and then 1 plus the cosine of theta. Again, that's the difference of two squareds method of factoring. In the denominator, there's nothing to factor. I'm just rewriting it. And then over here, rewriting it again. Notice that a common factor will cancel out in the numerator and the denominator. In this case, the 1 plus the cosine of theta and the 1 plus the cosine of theta will cancel out, and we're left with 2 times 1 minus the cosine of theta. Going on to this example, we want to again factor. In the numerator, there is nothing to factor. In the denominator, we can use the difference of two squareds. So cosine squared of theta would be split up as cosine of theta and cosine of theta. And then the sine squared of theta. We have the sine of theta, and then what are the signs in between there? Minus and plus. Now, will their common factor cancel out? Yes. We can factor out, or cancel out, the cosine of theta minus the sine of theta, and the cosine of theta minus the sine of theta. Remember, I'm still left with a 1 here. So my final answer is 1 over the cosine of theta plus the sine of theta.